Welcome to episode 353, where I'm celebrating the 7th anniversary of the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. And I'm also sharing my top 10 episodes to listen to in order to give you a well-rounded insight into the depth of this ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. So please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. Hey there, it's Colette for this special episode as it's the 7th anniversary of this podcast. And first of all, I can't believe that it has been 7 years since I started this podcast. 7 years ago, I was living in Encinitas, California, and searching for Ayurvedic podcasts so I could soak up more about this wonderful wisdom of Ayurveda. And I couldn't find what I was looking for. And so with lots of self-doubt, I decided to take the big step and create an educational podcast on Ayurveda. I was so passionate about Ayurveda, and I really wanted to share it and make sure everyone had access to this ancient wisdom. And a podcast was a great way to spread this wisdom far and wide in a format that's free, easy to access, and easy to consume as you can listen to it on the go. And now you can find the Elements of Ayurveda podcast on every podcast platform, every podcast app, including on Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. So I've come a long way in those 7 years, and I really want to thank you for supporting the podcast and sharing it with your family and friends. This is what helps to spread this wisdom of Ayurveda, which I believe the world needs now more than ever. Our world, as we know, can be very stressful and very distracting today. However, if we're living in tune with the principles of Ayurveda and nature, we can build up a resilience to stress and keep our body and mind in balance. This helps to keep us grounded and have increased awareness of our inputs like food, the media we're watching, our sensory inputs, and so on, and how our body and mind reacts to these inputs. When we're on our journey of self-realization with Ayurveda, we have such a positive impact on those around us as they witness our change in habits and the effect it's having on our body, our mind, our behavior, and our emotions. You become an amazing role model for your children as they are watching what you're doing and see you prioritizing your self-care. And to them, it then just becomes a normal part of life. Not only do you feel the positive impact of implementing the principles of Ayurveda, but everyone else around you feels the changes too. And this is the ripple effect that we want in the world. When people start asking you what you're doing as you're looking so healthy, or you feel so calm, your energy is so calm and grounded. And as the Dalai Lama says, just as the ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. So don't underestimate the effect you're having on those around you when they see you living the Ayurvedic principles. As ideally, we want everyone to align with Ayurveda, understand their unique mind-body type, find balance, increase their awareness, and take their own journey of self-realization so that they can thrive in life. Now, a question I am constantly asked is which episodes to listen to in order to get a good insight into Ayurveda. And with this being episode number 353, I understand that it can be overwhelming when choosing where to start. And so I have compiled the list of the top 10. Now, this was challenging to do as I've had so many fantastic guests on the podcast over the years.
But what I focused on for this top 10 list was educational episodes, which give a well-rounded insight into the depth of wisdom of Ayurveda. And so if you've already listened to some of these suggested episodes, perhaps you could share them with others so you can help start this ripple effect going out into the world. Okay, so let's get started with the list. The first one on the list is episode number 1, Introduction to Ayurveda. For the person who's new to Ayurveda, in this episode, I discuss the history and philosophy of Ayurveda and what makes Ayurveda so special. I talk about the 5 elements of nature, the 3 doshas of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and why it's so important to know and understand our unique doshic makeup and the benefits of having this awareness of our own unique constitution. So that's the first one, the very first episode, number 1, Introduction to Ayurveda. The next episode is number 8, titled Ayurveda and the Circadian Rhythms, due to the importance of living in tune with nature that I just talked about. I talk in detail in this episode about this internal clock, operating on a 24-hour cycle that's responsible for our physical, our mental, our emotional, and behavioral changes throughout the day, and how the doshas rise at certain times of the day, and why tuning into these energy cycles and aligning your daily rhythm to these energy shifts is so important for our health and well-being. The third one is episode number 16, Ayurvedic Dinacharya. Dinacharya, or daily self-care practices, are the daily practices Ayurveda recommends, and they are synced with the circadian rhythm in order to bring balance to the body and mind, promote health, and prevent disease. These holistic self-care practices give us a great healthy foundation, which promote good digestion, a calm nervous system, clarity of mind, great energy, and an overall sense of health and well-being. The fourth episode is number 26, titled What Do I Eat? Ayurvedic Nutrition, Taste, and Food Combining. In this episode, I discuss how Ayurveda does not take a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to nutrition. In fact, Ayurveda takes an individualized approach to eating guidelines, and there are many factors which are taken into consideration, including a person's unique constitution, age, season, climate, health status, and many more factors. I also talk in this episode about the 6 tastes of sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent, and the effect each taste can have on our body, the doshas, and the mind. I also discuss general dietary recommendations for each dosha and Ayurvedic guidelines for eating, including poor food combinations according to Ayurveda. So there's a lot packed into that episode number 26, What Do I Eat? Episode number 42 is 5th on the list, and that's titled Prana, Tejas, Ojas, and Nadis, and the chakras of the subtle body. In this episode, I delve deep into the subtle body and discuss the subtle energies of Prana, which is our life force energy, Tejas, our radiance and courage, and Ojas, which is our prime energy reserve, our vitality, and our natural immunity. I talk about the Nadis, which are the subtle energy channels through which prana flows, and the 7 chakras, or energy vortexes of the body. Ayurveda is a holistic system. It's a body, mind, and consciousness approach for self-healing and well-being. And so these subtle energies play a vital role in our overall health and well-being. 6th on the list is episode number 64, Ayurveda and the 6 stages of disease, where I share the Ayurvedic teachings on the 6 stages of disease manifestation in the body. And these 6 stages are accumulation, aggravation, circulation, localization, manifestation, and differentiation. Ayurveda teaches us that with this understanding of disease progression, and if we're in tune with our body and mind, we will have the awareness of the subtle signs of imbalance, even before these imbalances show up in blood tests or urine samples, etc. And with this awareness of the very early indicators of imbalance, we can take action to pacify these imbalances in the body, restore health, and prevent disease. This amazing wisdom from Ayurveda empowers us to be an active participant in our own healthcare. So episode number 64, Ayurveda and the 6 stages of disease, is definitely worth checking out. Number 7 on the list is episode number 92, Ayurvedic Nutrition of the Dhatus. And this is one I quote all the time in other episodes. If you're a regular listener, you're probably sick of hearing me quote this episode. The dhatus are the tissues of the body, which are made up from and nourished by the food we eat. In this episode, I explain the fascinating tissue nutrition system according to Ayurveda, and how the nutrition is a step-by-step process of nourishment from the grossest tissue, which is our plasma, to the subtlest dhatu or tissue, which is our reproductive tissue. Understanding this 35-day journey of our food through this nutrition process is fascinating. So episode number 92, Ayurvedic Nutrition of the Dhatus, is one that I highly recommend. Number 8 on the list is episode 150, Losing My Mojo. Now, this episode really resonated with many people as I discussed the natural decline of the Pitta fire energy at the end of the Pitta stage of life as we go towards menopause for women and andropause for men. This declining energy can result in a decline in drive, competitive spirit, intensity, and ambition. And it can be a challenging time for many people if they're not aware of what's happening in their body and mind. I discuss what's happening during this time of the transition from the Pitta to the Vata stage of life and why it's important to understand this natural process so we can flow with these transitions, maintain balance, enjoy these cycles rather than struggle through them. The 9th episode on the list is number 158, titled Focus on the Gunas, Not the Doshas. And this episode highlights the 20 gunas or qualities, which are in fact 10 pairs of opposites. And everything in the universe can be defined by these qualities. The Ayurvedic healing system is based on these 10 pairs of opposites, and the healing principle, like increases like, and opposites pacify. And I discuss in detail each guna and how the pairs of opposites can work to pacify each other to restore balance to the body and mind. Now, understanding this principle of opposites will help you to become your own healer and take charge of your health and well-being. So that's episode 158, Focus on the Gunas, Not the Doshas. The final episode on the list is number 277, Navigating Seasonal Transition with Ayurveda. And in this episode, I talk about how the changes in the environment during the seasonal transition can affect our Agni or digestive fire, and as a result, affect the doshas and have an impact on our immunity. Ayurveda gives many seasonal guidelines called Dinacharya to help us navigate the shift in seasons, preventing seasonal sickness and ensuring that we live in alignment with our changing environment. So there you go. That's the list of the top 10 educational podcast episodes to give you a well-rounded insight into the depth of wisdom of Ayurveda. And it has been a pleasure and honor to share this ancient wisdom for the past 7 years with you. And I wish to bring you many more in the future. And if you're looking for support on your Ayurvedic journey, then check out my online offerings. I have online consultations. I have the Digestive Reset Cleanse, which I offer private cleanses throughout the year, which comes with a 90-minute online consultation so I can tailor it to you. This is a holistic cleanse, and I also have a discounted group cleanse 3 times a year. The next one is October 4th, 2024. And finally, if you like to study by yourself, I have my Daily Habits for Holistic Health program. This is a 28-day self-paced program with the objective to help you live in tune with the circadian rhythm and become your own healer. Now, if you have any questions before you book any of my online services, then please take advantage of my free 15-minute online services inquiry call. We can hop on Zoom and I can answer all of your questions. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can do so by sharing episodes of the podcast, leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast. And you can also join the Elements of Ayurveda community, where you get early access to the weekly episodes. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. Come join me on social media. My new Instagram page is Elements of Ayurveda Podcast, and you can find me on Facebook under Elements Healing and Wellbeing. And if you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will automatically download for you every week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.